We're talking about an $8 billion decision for the state of California when it comes to the classification of employees or independent contractors, Assembly Bill 5, sunglasses in the law office, and you're watching Unbillable. I like a government. I like a government that gets nothing done. I like a government that gets nothing done. Think about that for a second. A lot of people want the government to help them. I get it. I want the government to stop messing things up. So I like a government that doesn't get anything done. I like a government that is in gridlock, that can just let us, the people, continue to do what we're doing without messing it all up. So why am I talking about this? Assembly Bill 5, AB 5. It's not even a law yet. It's already like driving the clients crazy. Assembly Bill 5 is talking about the classifications, whether an employee is an employee, a worker is an employee, or an independent contractor. I gotta say, like, a worker. I don't use the phrase worker or laborer, but for purposes of the vlog now, I gotta be careful because what we're really talking about is when is someone an employee as opposed to an independent contractor. And there used to be this 11-step test from the Borello case. I'm not going to get into the Borello case. Let's just say 11 different things you should consider. And finally the court, I think, finally had enough. I think I've had a really hard time explaining to people over the last 15 years of my legal career the 11-point standard. Now, though, we've cut it down to an ABC test. We'll get into that in a little bit, and also talk about how they're like killing independent contractors altogether, but I need to eat, so let's get moving. That's a true story, by the way. When I came up with the idea for this vlog, I got a call from one client literally freaking out. I think he read the headline of the article only. And then I had the email from the 4th grade school teacher, which is salty. Let's just say a little salty. And then there's the second phone call from a totally unrelated client in the same business as the first person. I'm going to say they read the first paragraph of the article, more than the headline. And now here we are. Walking people back from the ledge, Luis. That's what we do here. I forget about that I have to open the door and close it for you.
Yeah.
So, she's not going to want to be on there. I can see people freaking out. They can see, I see the camera. I see the camera. I wonder if people really understood how much they're being filmed in public, if they would freak out less about the fact that Luis is filming me. Remember, he's filming me. Why you're freaking out about seeing him filming me is kind of a whole nother world. But the truth is, you're being filmed so much at like stoplights and grocery stores, elevators. Show your face on Unbillable, baby. All right, so let's get into it a little bit as we hit the sun. Woo! I gotta take a moment and say, clients freaking out when they call me, it's okay. Like, I need them to freak out a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong. I probably overstate it even when I say freak out. When they call me like worried about their business, I get it because your business is important to you. And so today, like what they're worried about, it's AB 5. It's not even a law yet. It's not even a law yet, but it's gonna be. So we're gonna talk about it in more detail. But I need tacos first. I shouldn't say clients freak out when they call me. The truth is, like, it's important and it's their business. And a lot of times, I mean, they only have time to read the headline. So when I say they're only headline reading, they're freaking out because they don't have the time to digest the entirety of what is taking place. And so when they just see the headline, which is designed to get you to click it, right? That also leads to that kind of panicked phone call. So what's interesting is, especially now with like the internet trying to get you to click things, so they put things in a way that's like hyper interesting to get you to click it, and that's also the reason that you like call me, your attorney, with so much fire and passion. But the truth is, what's going on right now is a sea change in California for how we treat and classify employees versus independent contractors. Assembly Bill 5, AB 5, is what's getting people calling my office like crazy because they're worried about the classification of their employees or their workers as employees or their workers as independent contractors. Or for the two people that called me, they're classified independent contractors who they believe they're going to have to classify as employees now. And so you're probably saying, well, what's the difference? What's the big deal? There's $8 billion with a B, $8 billion on the line for the state of California, because When you get paid as an employee, you're getting payroll, and payroll has payroll taxes. When you're getting paid as an independent contractor, yes, you're getting income, but that's income tax, that's a federal tax. That's not a state tax. So we're talking about $8 billion, 8 billion reasons the state of California is interested in having more people classified as employees and independent contractors. Now, before I give it all the one-sided speech from my nice fancy car, it's also about protecting employees. Employees get minimum wage. Employees get sick leave, right? Employees have unions. So there is a protecting the employee part of this discussion that I'd be crazy to not mention. Just as crazy as I would be if I didn't mention $8 billion for the state of California. So what we're going to talk about in more detail is the change from the Borelli, whatever, the 11 points. There used to be an 11-point classification that they used to determine whether you're an independent contractor or employee. And now we're using the Dynamex standard, easier to say than Borelli, number one. Number two, it's an ABC test, a 3-prong approach to determining whether you're an independent contractor or an employee. Let's go through it right now.
The tables have turned. You almost got run over.
I almost got run over twice, but it was still your fault because I was waiting for you, Luis. I know we said we'd talk about the ABC test now, but first...
Chipotle.
All right, I told you we'd talk about the ABC test. Let's go with A right here, right now. Is the worker under the direct control and supervision of the hirer, right? Do they have some independence, some freedom? I like to use my man Luis here as an example. I mean, obviously we're together when we film the vlog, but then he goes back to his underground lair where he edits and puts together the special effects and things like that. Don't laugh, Luis. I know it's underground, but the point is he's not under my direction and control. Is the worker under the direction and control of the hirer? If they are, that's it, you're an employee. If they're not, you got B and C. Remember, you need all three. So are you under the direction and control of the hirer? When you are, you're an employee. End of story. When you're not, you get to go to B and then C. ABC test, time for B. B is the worker in the different type of business than the hirer? Meaning, does the worker have a business that is in the ordinary course of doing something different than the business of the hirer? Again, we're gonna use my man Luis. I'm in the business, well, business and real estate attorney. Luis is in the business of social media marketing, so we are not in the same business. Let's say I had maybe I had a pipe clogged in my kitchen. If I called a plumber to my law office and said, hey, can you fix this pipe? Independent contractor. He's not doing legal work, he's a plumber, and I'm not doing plumbing, definitely not doing plumbing, only breaking plumbing. He's coming to fix it. So it's work outside the type of work that the hirer does. Now, if I had too much business at my law practice and needed help from another lawyer, well, that would be the same type of work, and again, that would be a violation. We'll talk about why that's not really an issue here for lawyers and some other professions after we talk about letter C. The C of the ABC test is kind of similar to B, except that you have to be in the trade or profession different than the hirer. Okay, earlier I talked about the plumber. The plumber is a plumber. If he comes to fix the pipe at my law office, it's still a law office. Two different trades, two different occupations. So again, A is about direction and control, like supervision. Does the hirer have so much control over the work of the worker that they're like an employee? B has to do with whether they do the same thing. Are they in the same nature of business? Are they in the same activity on the regular? Are you just sort of, I like to say, hiring a temporary employee? They don't want you to do that. And then C is the person in a different occupation or trade? Do they have a separate and distinct sort of business that's something different than the company that's hiring them, than the hirer? So the ABC test is the new standard by which we decide if you're an employee or an independent contractor. Now, besides what's in this for the state, what's in this for, let's say, Uber, Lyft, Doordash, right? The gig economy is really what's being targeted by this, and don't think they're just gonna take this laying down. They've already committed more money than you can shake a stick at trying to defeat this in the upcoming election, and they also have plans to battle this in the court system as well. So remember, the ABC test dictates whether you're an employee or an independent contractor and how you want to look at it, if this is good for protecting wage earners and workers, or whether this is really about putting more money in the tax coffers of the state. Funny thing about this is Arizona just addressed this in 2016, and what they did was say, if you're part of the ride-sharing world, if you're in that gig economy, you're automatically independent contractor. California, we just sort of did the opposite. But of course, there are some exceptions. If you're a real estate broker, if you're an insurance broker, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, and a bunch of other professions where you're working directly with a customer, we've laid an exception in there, and we've given the newspapers 1 year to comply so that they got a way to make a plan for all the delivery services. So if you like this episode, of course, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, you gotta hit that button over there. And of course, to see our last episode, click right here below, and you can catch us there on another episode of Unbillable.